right, Trump won the election.
Thank you very much. Wow.
The election is over. We told you just hours ago what you should prepare and what you should do. You want to watch that video as well. But today I'm going to tell you that as the election is over, some things are over for me as well. And I'm going to talk about that. If you're here looking for Trump impressions, we will put one at the end of this video. It may be the last Trump impression that you'll see here. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the election's over. And I watched it last night, had a few folks, stayed up till about 9:30 in the morning here in Tbilisi, Georgia, in my new home, have a couple TVs behind me, watched the results come in, took a brief nap, woke up to the first projections that Trump was elected. You know, for me, the U.S. has been a country divided for some time. If you are in the left-right paradigm in any country, the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Australia, where things are divided, things are heading in the right direction, you probably think, hey, if your politician gets in, we're saved. I see people in Canada, hey, if Pierre gets in, we're saved. I don't agree. I think there's certainly a veneer of just feeling better about things that your guy or your gal is in and it's all going to get better. But I think it's an opportunity for me to talk about, and I'm going to get to what, there's some things that are over for me, but a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't understand what this channel and what we talk about really means. I don't care who wins, and that's not because I hate Trump. It's not because I love Kamala. It's not because I don't really have any feelings about it at all. I'm not here to save the United States. I'm not here to watch the United States prosper. I'm not here to root for its downfall. I don't think it needs my help. I've been talking around my dining room table with my family for 30 years. The U.S. is heading in the wrong direction. 30 years ago, you would have said we were nuts. 12 years ago, when I started talking about, hey, Americans need a second passport at Nomad Capitalist, people thought I was nuts. Some of the biggest companies at the time in the industry of passports openly mocked me within the industry. Why would an American want a passport? One of them opened an office in Miami last year. So, you know, for me, as an investor and as someone who observes what's happening in the world, I'm here for the long game. And again, I'm not going to repeat what I said mere hours ago. If you agree with a lot of what Trump's saying, I think you get a 4-year reprieve. The question is, how are you going to use those 4 years? Or are you going to wait around until the next shoe falls and then scurry and try and do something about it? But here's what people don't get. Nomad Capitalist is bigger than whether one country succeeds or fails, because if you look throughout history, you don't really have any control over that. There's a culture, there's a momentum that the United States and other countries have that's going in the wrong direction. It's not going to matter. You can disagree with me. And if you are in that left-right paradigm of Trump saves us, Kamala destroys us, then you probably will disagree with me. And I say this, listen, everyone's welcome to watch. We hope as many people as possible watch. We hope as many people get the message. But if you don't agree with me, at a certain point, if you think the U.S. is saved that Trump is in, you probably shouldn't watch. Not because I don't want you to watch or I want to be snarky. Why do you spend your time consuming content that you don't agree with? I'll come back to that in a minute. But for me, the message from this is not everything is political. And I think that, you know, I got a great quote I'll share with you in a moment from a viewer of this channel who said, if you live in the U.S., and I think other countries, political animals are like this as well, if you don't neatly fit into one of the two boxes, people don't understand you and then they judge you as the enemy. I am not here, anti-Trump. I'm not here pro-Kamala. I think they both probably have some things that I agree with. They both have some things I don't agree with. I don't really like any of these politicians, and I don't think any of them are going to save you. What box do I get put in the United States for doing that? Well, by a lot of folks who are very pure Trump camp, who, I guess, over the last 4 years stumbled across this channel because they saw an opportunity to be angry about Joe Biden, an opportunity to be angry about Justin Trudeau or whatever, and rightfully so in many cases. But fundamentally, some of these people who've come to the channel, they don't agree with what we're doing here. They don't agree with our 5 magic words, go where you're treated best. They agree with vote for Trump next time. Those are their, vote for Trump. Those are their 5 magic words. Not everything's political. And I'll come back to that in a minute. So, you know, what you know I've gotten tired of is well, it's going to be like that anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere, or you don't have to run. Why are you running away from the U.S.? This is your place. Yeah, I don't want to live in the U.S. because the world isn't political, and I think the U.S. is far too political. And quite frankly, this channel is a bit of a different path than are we going to vote for Trump or are we going to vote for Kamala? Because that path has a lot of forks in the road, and you're not going to win every fork. And I like to look at the higher level, which is go where you're treated best. And I continue to believe that if you're an American, if you're anyone living in these high tax, legacy brand countries, moving in the wrong direction, where the culture is going in a way you might not like, I think the best thing to do is to at least have a plan B and a plan A. I'm not going to talk about that, but here's what I've been thinking over the last couple days, and I've been validated on this in the last 24 hours. In fact, I'm kind of relieved to see that Trump won. Again, I don't care who wins. It's not my country. I'm not a U.S. citizen. It doesn't bother me. Oh, but you hold some U.S. equities, don't you? Yeah, it's a small part of my portfolio. It's not my circus, not my monkeys. But I am relieved in a sense. Why? Because I've been burdened, and some of you have been watching, and you've probably seen some of the frustrations from time to time of me carrying this burden and maybe not knowing exactly how to work it out. But I have been burdened by people associating the things that we talk about with politics. I've been burdened by sometimes being dragged into politics, and I'll raise a hand on that one. And I am relieved now that a lot of the folks that I thought, hey, these are the people we're speaking to, it's now clear they just want the politics. And if their guy wins, somehow they don't want to go where they're treated best anymore. And so I'm relieved. What I'm done with, what is over for me, is catering to the politics. Because I take such a long view of the world. That's why I wanted to live in Asia. It's the first place I went. I wanted to be part of the future. And I've had my longest running home is in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It's not maybe the number one place to watch the future, but I still see what's happening in Asia from there. And that's not about what's going to happen this quarter or this year or the next 4 years. It's about what's going to happen in the next generation and the next century. That's what I want to see. That's the timeline that I think in when I make investments. Yeah, Mexican peso is down a little bit these days. I have a couple small positions in Mexican stocks. Okay, great. I'll buy more pesos. I believe long term in the future of Mexico. Even if the U.S. doesn't want to play ball with it, I believe in the future of Mexico. Don't want to be, listen, I have plenty of pro-Trump friends. I'm sure there's plenty of things that Trump says that I agree with. I am not anti-Trump. I don't hate Trump. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't think Kamala seems like a great, person. But guess what? I'm sure I agree with her on some things too. I am politically homeless. Cast all the stones that you want. I am just so done with politics. And I think there's things we talked about that for me, it was one entrepreneur, me talking to other 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs that are our clients. Hey, here's a tax hike they want to put in. Hey, here's something they want to do to take more of your money. Hey, look at this kind of stuff. That people might associate with politics because it's a political function. Are they going to raise your taxes? But to me, that's being prepared as a business owner. That's what we talk about here. Go where you're treated best. Some of the stuff, yeah, probably it was too political. Now, my talk on things like, the World Economic Forum was, I live in places where I'm just not as concerned about it. I have diversification. I have various levers that I can pull. I'm genuinely not as worried about it. Maybe we agree on some of that stuff. I do think some people take it too far. Yeah, I don't want to eat bugs. And yet, the places that I've put into my portfolio, I think are the last ones, in some cases, where you'll be forced to eat bugs. I fundamentally believe that. And yet, the people who are all politics, who come to this channel, not because they want to learn how to go where you're treated best, not because they want to learn where the future is and how to invest in Asia and all that kind of stuff we talk about and how to be prepared, but because they're just angry at a politician. We try to put up what I thought was a rational, political commentary on that. And yet I realized we got sucked into politics. That was something that people wanted to watch. I feel free today that I can go and be myself. I watched the election last night. I'm no longer an American. It's a good show. Nobody puts on a better show with elections than the United States. I followed the Botswana election a week ago. It was like, all right, you read 2 articles, you're done. They ousted the ruling party. It's been there for 60 years. This is a show. I don't deny watching a good show in the U.S. And yet I realize now the people who were taking a victory lap because Trump won, happy for you to do, let me be very clear, happy for you to do that. But if you're saying, well, I don't need to leave the U.S. anymore, then we just don't agree. And I God bless you. Seriously, like, live your life the way you want. I do not judge. But why would you keep watching this channel? Because guess what? We're filming our Live Like a King series. Next up, we're going in a couple days to Oman. Oman's a Muslim country. Some of the kindest people you'll ever meet. Pretty conservative culture. I don't care how much you think Trump's going to get done. He's not going to make it as conservative as Oman. If you're a conservative, you might as well just move to Oman. I'm a little tongue-in-cheek, but that's going to be a more conservative, family-friendly country than the U.S. will ever be, no matter who the president is. And yet I realize that some of the folks, not necessarily Trump people, just political people on any side, are going to, oh, you're Oman. If you say, we've had racist comments, and I'm not a guy who throws that word around, right? When you use actual racist words, you might want to say that's racist, right? I'm not a guy, oh, you're racist because you don't like Kamala. Nonsense, right? Do not lump me in with those people. When you use an actual racist word, maybe you're not even right, but you're certainly acting racist. And for me, I just feel free today. I like going to places like Oman. I like being in places like here in Georgia. I genuinely enjoy my life much more than I did living in the United States. And you don't have to agree. You can say the U.S. is the best. Now, the difference is I've done it. And many people who are saying they don't like it haven't done it. And you don't have to do it. But again, why would you want to watch someone? And I think there's definitely people here that perhaps we've given a little bit too much attention to who want us to talk about, how do we make sure we can make America great again? Make America great again. Listen, I hope you do it. God bless you. There's clients all around the world. My goal is to get hundreds of high-level clients a year out of 8 billion people in the world. The UK is on fire. France is going to go to the tubes. I'm not here rooting for anyone's downfall so I can get a couple extra clients. Because the best clients are the ones who agree with me that this is a long-term issue. I was talking to the Nomad Dad. He's like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll support Trump, but okay, great. 4 years from now, what do we do? But I get to be myself now. You know what I like to do? Live like a king. Now that's the name of this series. Live Like a King Kuala Lumpur. Go watch it. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I like to go out and drink nice champagne and have caviar with pageant winners. That's something that occasionally I do. And sometimes I sit at home and I work 15 hours a day and I order Taco Bell when I'm in Malaysia. And everything in between. And I think that people on the more political side, they don't want to see Oman as much because they have a preconceived notion because they're coming from political. They're not coming from where's the future, where do I invest, what are the opportunities. They're coming from I'm here because I'm angry at somebody and feed my anger. And listen, we've talked about some of this stuff, gets views. You know what I want to do? I want to make videos about we go to Cambodia where I've invested for many years. And we interview the top 5 experts, and we piece it together as a mini, 25-minute documentary. And we show what the place looks like, and we show the opportunities, and we show how it's changed in just the last 10 or 12 years since I've been going there. And we talk to experts, and we put it out there. And we do a series of those, kind of like Live Like a King, but on location investment tours. It's not always easy to get those people to come on, by the way. But I want to do on-location tours. I want to show you Uzbekistan. Jim Rogers spoke at Nomad Capitalist Live. He couldn't stop talking about Uzbekistan. I want to go to Uzbekistan and show you a mini documentary of that. It costs a lot more money than sitting here in my living room and just talking for 25 minutes. That cost us nothing. But I want to show you those places. That was the goal of Nomad Capitalist from day one. Listen, my goal was never to save the United States. I was angrier about the United States the day I started this business than I am now. Kind of proves to me that what we're doing here works. I got all the passports and I have the diversification. I live in different places and I don't really, I have some American friends, but I'm generally out of the ecosystem. I'm a happier person for it. That should be what we're striving for. By the way, you think that Sean Hannity's going to stop doing a show? No, he's not. And he's going to need some new villains to make you angry every day. I don't care if Trump's in office or not. There'll be somebody in politics that he will need to skewer for you to tune in and be angry. I'm not angry about this stuff. I'd like for you to join me and not be angry too, but that's up to you. I feel that I get to go out and be myself now. And you know what? It may not get as many views. And that's part of the struggle I've had over the last couple of years is, you know what? I told you a couple of weeks ago, I turned 40 years old, had a great birthday party in Monaco, had people flying from around the world. That's my life. And honestly, I think the political people, the vocal political people, oh, look, he's in Monaco. Look at Mr. Fancy Pants here. He's in Monaco. Like, yeah, I have a successful business. And I like to do nice things sometimes. And this is very freeing for me to show you more of that lifestyle rather than just telling you why you should go where you're treated best, to show you with Live Like a King, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year with on-location tours in places that I think are worth it for you to know. And I realize you're not going to like all of them. We have how many live like a kings now? You may not want to live in Bogota, but you may love Kuala Lumpur. I want to show you that, unburdened from having to make everything about what is someone who really doesn't want to move, but they will if Trump isn't elected going to say. Because that's not what we're about. And again, I don't think any number of times I'm saying, that doesn't mean I hate Trump. I don't think any number of times I say that is going to convince the people who are in that camp. So I'm just not going to say it. And I sit here today. This is our 4th presidential election. We really kicked things off when Obama got elected. I had the website. We were just starting, like literally days earlier. I said, okay, I'm going all in on Nomad Capitalist when Obama won in 2012. I was in Turkey watching the election. So anyway, we've been here for 4 elections. I don't want to convince anyone kicking and screaming anymore. If you're with us, come with me. If you're new, then we are going to explain some things to you as we go along. But I don't want to be in the business of catering to politics on either side. On either side. I'm speaking more to the Trump win today because a lot of people on the right are feeling like it's all solved now. And it's not. As my mother would always quote the Bible, pride cometh before the fall. I've always remembered that. And I never like to be too proud in victory. How many times over the years have people said, oh, Nomad Capitalist business is over due to COVID, and we go on to make countless millions in the next 2 years. I never got too proud about that because I realized it can go away at any moment. We will talk about some things that you might think are political if you're in the left-right paradigm, if you're in the paradigm of everything is political. Raising taxes, we're going to talk about that. Ways they want to restrict your freedom of movement or any kind of that's personal freedom, we're going to talk about that. By the way, we filmed Live Like a King in Belgrade, and I said, oh yeah, it's free here. People can smoke indoors. Well, that's not freedom. That literally is freedom. It's just not a freedom that you like. And I realized how much, again, people put things in a political box. I'm for all freedom. I don't smoke. I don't like smoke. But I think it's kind of cool. You can smoke inside. And guess what? The free market will decide. If there's enough people like me, they'll open smoke-free restaurants and bars and burlesque shows and everything else. Somebody said, this is Josiah, the USA is so massively divided it's become impossible to interact with anyone without politics being injected. What's worse is that people want to force you to pick one of the only 2 options they believe exist. Basically, they don't believe there's a third option, is what he's saying. They don't believe you can go where you're treated best. That's why they push back and say, oh yeah, you're in Malaysia. They'll come to get you eventually as well. Hey, listen, maybe they will. Number one, at least I'll be happier for all the years in between. And I just fundamentally don't think I can show you why I don't think it's going to happen. For your money, you certainly want to be diversified. Anyway, he says, binary thinking everywhere. No other options considered. Fail to pick one, and both turn on you. The politics is heavily divided along gender lines, with the conflict simmering just shy of an all-out gender war. Something else you won't find in Malaysia or Serbia or Georgia or a lot of the other places that we talk about. You can actually have nice relationships with people. I grew so sick of it, he says, that I left the U.S. just to live on the other side of the planet. Nobody here knows or cares who Trump, Harris, or Biden are. I think people generally know who the U.S. president is. I disagree with them on that. Being an expat now, I'm a bit amazed at how my thinking on candidates has changed. As Andrew, that's me, stated, the conservatives are usually more anti-expat. I do stand by that. I said in 2016 I did not vote. It was my final election as a U.S. citizen. If I would have voted, I would have voted as a single-issue voter. You know what? Most of you watching don't care about my concerns. And so for the first time ever, after I watched Obama win in 2012 and realized nobody cares about me, I said, okay, I'll be a single-issue voter. Who's best for expats? I thought Hillary would keep the status quo. Guess what? I was, well, I don't know if Hillary would have, but Trump didn't. And I could have navigated, Trump's policies better than most people because I had a highly international life by that time. But if you're just the average person with an American wife and you're moving your family overseas and you're kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, Trump made it worse for expats. Now again, if your thing is, well, as long as Trump is in office, I don't need to leave. Screw you and your Malaysia. I'm not the guy for you. I'm happy for you to watch. I'd love for you to see, even if it's for entertainment. But we're not catering to people anymore, where it's like, you think you really got to go to Malaysia? It's so much better than Trump. Yeah, I do actually, and you're welcome not to agree. So don't watch. Yeah. So this guy Josiah says, I'm more interested in the status quo now. Andrew's comment about foreign women in their 20s being more mature than U.S. women in their 40s also rings very true. And another reason, in my opinion, to live overseas, the 25-year-old women, and probably men too, that you can meet who know all sorts of things and who are more mature and more worldly and more knowledgeable and more probably whatever you're looking for outside of the U.S., it's unparalleled. I don't really think who's president of the U.S. makes a huge difference. I'm sure in some small things it does. It doesn't really impact me. If you think that Trump's going to cut your taxes that much, I mean, we'll see what happens in the House. With the House election, it's going to be very tight. I mean, we already have evidence of what Trump did. He lowered your taxes 2.6%. And if you live in a blue state, and fine, maybe I understand the logic behind this, but if you live in a blue state, he raised your taxes on the local level, effectively. So you got 2 or 3 percentage points at best in tax cuts. What's my overall tax rate this year? Low to mid single digits. Used to be 0. It's not going to save you. And I think that, again, the political view is people want to feel better. I get it. Life's about being happy and having an impact. But if you're just feeling better because your guy gets in and your thought is, my business will be safe now, we're going to make some money again. I don't know. The U.S. equities I have been doing pretty well recently. Maybe they'll do even better under Trump. Sure, maybe Bitcoin will do better under Trump. Eventually, you're going to have to pay tax on that. And eventually, you're going to have to deal with whoever's in charge there. It's going to be Trump for 4 years. So anyway, I don't want to fight with anybody anymore. I really don't. And that's what's over for me. It's going to be a process of ensuring that we don't go down that road, because it's all too easy to get back into politics. It is all too easy. It gets people fired up. It gets people engaged. It gets views. I want to do what we were supposed to do on day one of this business, which is show you the opportunities in places around the world. I'm sure it will not get 1.4 million views like the Great Reset video did, and perhaps that's just fine. So now we get back to business, and here, if Kamala would have won, is the Trump impression you would have seen.
Kamala Ding Dong is going to be the next president of these United States. A lot of people are saying it's a total fraud, it's a witch hunt. A lot of people are calling me and saying it's bad, but crazy Kamala, Kamala, she's going to raise your taxes, even double and triple your taxes. It's going to be terrible. You have to run for the hills, take your kids, take the pets, take the dogs and the cats, and run for the hills. I'll be in Venezuela. You want to have a plan B. You want to be strong.